офіцер?
Офіцерів немає.
А?
Офіцерів немає. А
Ти офіцер?
Ні. Я туди. А я туди.
Just about 4 weeks ago, on the 23rd of December, I published a video entitled Avdiivka, This is Why the Russian Attack Has Slowed. In it, there was an audio-only clip from US Admiral John Kirby, who stated that the current Russian attacks on Avdiivka were merely preliminary and that he, along with the US intelligence, expected that the main Russian attack would come in deep winter toward the end of January of 2024.
There actually are and continue to intend to want to conduct offensive operations, particularly in the east around this place called Avdiivka. And we believe, we have every reason to believe, that as the ground freezes towards the end of January and into February, that will make it easier for Russian forces to go on the move.
The point being that all the hype about Ukraine holding back massive Russian onslaughts
На даний момент ми з Авдіївки успішно знищуємо ворога. Місто українське. Ми з орків візьмемо велику ціну кров'ю за кожну вулицю.
and inflicting massive casualties on advancing Russians in and around Avdiivka was just that, hype.
Okay, just calm down.
But now, that video seems prescient. On the 20th of January, Suryak Max reported that in southern Avdiivka, the Russian army attacked and took control of a series of trenches adjacent to the summer cottage and the railway line to the periphery of Saka Okhuta. Due to a lack of manpower, the Ukrainian army retreated to the next layer of trenches and the first houses of the urban area.
Biggest breakthrough is still at Avdiivka. What is important is that they started to press where they were pressing and made a breakthrough from the southeastern side.
The deterioration on the Ukrainian side coincided with Russia's resumption of offensive activities on the Axis after 6 weeks of troop rotation. Ukraine's own deep state channel admitted that the situation worsened in the east and south of Avdiivka on January 19th. The situation got out of control when Russian troops took down a series of positions passing Saka Okhuta. Along Soborna Street to rush directly to the city center. The situation cannot be ignored or disregarded because Russia blocks the logistics such that Ukrainian forces in general, along with the 110th Brigade in particular, needs urgent assistance.
Hello everyone, so my name is Andrew and I'm the officer of the 110th Brigade. Right now we are in the Avdiivka, in the most hottest place in this war. This video is for Veterans Aid for Ukraine Foundation, Charity Foundation.
Another military blogger also confirmed that Russia successfully dislodged Ukraine in the south of the city, in the villages of Pervasive and Stepove, which are south and southwest of the waste treatment facilities. The news began to spread, and by the 23rd of January, other military bloggers like the Military Summary channel as well as Suryak Maps simultaneously reported that Ukraine's strongest defense line near Avdiivka had fallen. In the face of the strong attack of the Russian army, at risk of being surrounded, Kiev's forces were forced to retreat from the old anti-aircraft base south of the city. The center fortified area is under the control of the Russian forces, creating a favorable springboard for them to develop an offensive position on the center of Avdiivka from the southeast. In the south, Russian infantry supported by tanks and aircraft.
It's a sight Ukrainian troops in Avdiivka see all too often, a massive Russian armored assault force coming right at them.
Penetrated a powerful defensive center, dislodged Ukrainian forces from the major strongholds, and then quickly advanced along the Chernyshevsky and Spotivnaya roads to the west. Ukrainian military analysts acknowledged the Russian advance when writing that, and I quote, "Groups of armored tanks along with large numbers of infantry from Yasinovataya are trying to penetrate the forest along the Sobornaya road." In the south of the city, they admit, Russians are making significant progress.
They're coming for us.
Some analysts say that it is likely that Ukraine will have to withdraw its troops from Avdiivka due to a lack of logistical supplies.
The goal is to reach the western end of the Khimik microdistrict through the southeast of Avdiivka in order to cut the large ledge that is located there.
Specifically, if you look at the map of the roads leading into the city, it seems that there are many options, although almost every road ends at the coke and chemical plant in the north of Avdiivka. But if you move a little outside, you will see the main supply lines with two branches, Novobakhmutivka to the north and Netailove to the south. Both of these places are threatened by the Russians, who are only about 3 kilometers away. Although there are some small roads that can be used in the worst case scenario, they all end in Novoselivka, Persia. The eastward road from Novoselivka will act as a bottleneck, and if Russia established fire control over the area, it will be difficult for Ukraine to support Avdiivka. In the face of fierce Russian attacks, the Ukrainian armed forces are retreating from the suburbs into the city center. It is predicted that the Ukrainian army may retreat to hold urban areas and at the same time try to protect a corridor so that if it can't be held anymore, there is still a way to retreat. The persistent theme across the entire front line for Ukraine is the shortage of ammunition.
Artillery is key as Ukrainian forces try to hold off massive Russian assaults on the Eastern Front. But Kiev's ammo shortages are getting worse by the day. This US-provided M109 Paladin howitzer near Bakhmut is often silent because they don't have enough shells to target the Russians, the commander tells me.
This is now well known in Washington.
Yes. Without that support, we could fight those first days, weeks, maybe months. Yeah, months.
According to the NBC News agency, in a recent closed-door meeting with White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, and U.S. National Intelligence Agency Director Avril Haines warned that Ukraine would run out of artillery and air defense resources in just a few weeks if it was not provided timely aid. In October last year, the Biden administration asked Congress to pass an additional budget of $106 billion for the fiscal year of 2024.
The administration is considering sending $60 billion to Ukraine and $10 billion to Israel in aid. Here's what we know. Biden is expected to submit the funding package to Congress this week. Sources told Reuters that Biden was also considering requesting another $100 billion that would include aid for Israel, Ukraine, Taiwan, and fund efforts to increase security on the border with Mexico. The new sum of money will cover a full year of aid and aims to protect security funds from partisan battles. So far, the U.S. has provided $75 billion to Ukraine. Israel receives $3.8 billion in military aid from the U.S. annually, the highest of any country,
which will set aside more than $60 billion in aid to Ukraine. However, the proposal has not been passed due to opposition from Republican congressmen. Republicans want the Biden administration to first make commitments on border security.
Republicans have become increasingly divided over aid to Kyiv, although the majority is enthusiastic about sending money to Israel.
Under that pressure, President Biden met with congressional leaders and warned of the risk of having, and get this, to send troops to Ukraine.
U.S. will have to send their sons and daughters exactly the same way as we are sending their sons and daughters to war, and they will have to fight because it's NATO that we're talking about, and they will be dying, God forbid, because it's a horrible thing.
If they did not approve additional aid to Kiev, White House spokeswoman Karine Jean-Pierre said the following on January 18th, and I quote, "President Biden stressed the urgency of the threat to our NATO partners in the region and what that means to them. Certainly, we don't want to see our military put in the position of having to be present in the field."